Governor Janet Mills announcing today she's endorsing Hannah Pingree for governor. The endorsement represents the most significant to date in the Democratic primary. Mills is term limited and cannot seek re-election. Mills and Pingree first served together in the Maine legislature. Pingree is a former Speaker of the Maine House. Mills releasing a statement which says in part, quote, Maine Democrats have choices when it comes to who they want their next governor to be. I have worked closely with many of the candidates and consider them friends, but one person stands out from the crowd for me. That's Hannah Pingree. Going on to say, I have known Hannah for many years, and I can say without a doubt she is a leader of courage, integrity, strength, compassion, and action, someone who is unafraid to fight for what is right and who will deliver for Maine people day after day. Hannah is a leader whom Maine people can trust. You want to read that full statement, you can go to our website. Pingree faces 4 others in the Democratic gubernatorial primary on June 9th.